In recent weeks, we've brought you exclusive reporting by our Investigations Reporter Jonathan Lea, who exposed how the nation's biggest super fund, Australian Super, was adding pressure on widows and others who were faced with outrageous delays getting the payouts they were owed after the deaths of loved ones.
It's not their money. It's our money that we saved for.
Sorry. It does. It wears you down. It wears you down.
Heartbreaking and infuriating stuff. Well, there's been some good news on this today. Jonathan Lea joins me from Brisbane with the details. Jonathan, your reporting's put the government under pressure and the superannuation funds under pressure to do something, and you want Parliament to do something on it. What's happened today? What's been the development today?
Well, Chris, finally some good news potentially for victims. The Senators voted to have a committee review into this sector. They're calling it a review into the insurance sector, but we're told by Senator Andrew Bragg, the Liberal Senator, that it will go wherever the review takes it, and it will be dependent on the submissions which come from those out in the viewer land, out in the public land. They expect that this will report back by the 30th of July next year. It will be extraordinary because it won't just look at things like super funds, total and permanent disability. It also wants to look at whether there should be an insurance for the aged care sector, helping to prop up the aged care industry, which of course has struggled. It had the Royal Commission back in 2018. So it is a win for those who've struggled to get hold of their loved ones' nest eggs, who've struggled to get hold of their death benefits, and also for those who've struggled with TPD. But how far and how deep this goes remains to be seen. It appears that Labor and the Greens are on board. It should be bipartisan, but you never quite know how these committees are going to go on the day. Yeah,
it'll be terrific if some of those victims, those people who've been poorly treated by super funds that you've spoken to, get to relay their accounts, their experiences direct to the politicians in Canberra or elsewhere. These committees often travel around the country. And this is broader than Australian Super, isn't it? They're the biggest fund, and you've had some examples there, but there are other super funds behaving in a similar way.
Yeah, we particularly exposed Australian Super and also CBUS. We're told that there's actually been a 136% increase when it comes to complaints around death benefits. So the level of frustration out there is extraordinary. We know that at a time when you're dealing with grief and sorrow and sadness, the last thing you want to be doing is battling with a super fund. It's obviously taken an enormous amount of pressure to get Labor and the Greens on board with the approval within the Senate today. So, as we say, finally some good news when it comes to those who've struggled and called out this sector. There are a number of people who've got in contact with us here at Sky News to talk about their problems and their grievances. As we say, how far this goes remains to be seen, but there will be a meeting this week. Senator Bragg makes the point that in his mind this now has already started, and the Minister himself, Stephen Jones, made the point that in a shot across the bow, it's not too much to expect companies to answer the telephone, and there's a lot of people simply struggling to get in contact with their superannuation funds. They're trying to change things, they're trying to get access to the money that is their money, and there's third-party companies involved here. A company which we looked at called Link Group, who operates behind the scenes and deals with all of those phone calls and emails which come through. And so often you find that the person you're dealing with leaves the company and then you end up with somebody new and you have to start this process all over again. One lady we spoke to said she waited 8 months, and that's not extraordinary. That seems quite usual.
And it is unacceptable. Thanks so much for that update, Jonathan. Appreciate it. Jonathan Lea there in our Brisbane studio. He has led the charge on this, trying to help people get access to their own money that they're owed. And now Parliament's going to follow through, as you heard. Great to hear there. Great work from Jonathan, and let's hope that the Senate follows through with some vigour.